I am way too old to still be adulting. For one, I'm an adult, and I'm the least bit an adult when I'm adulting. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life. On this weekly podcast, topics, discussions, stories from our lives.
Season 10, Chapter 9.
Adulting.
We've all engaged in adulting, no matter how old we are. The term itself coined only about 6 or 7 years ago, so it's really a Gen Z term. Although, if you think about it, 1986, the band Pursuit of Happiness, I'm an Adult Now. That was basically a lament about the stark discovery young people have when it hits them. They are an adult. Adulting. It's behaving in a manner consistent with that of being a responsible adult. Accomplishing the tasks, sometimes mundane, that are necessary in day-to-day life. Those dishes aren't going to wash themselves, you know. That is the definition of adulting, but I'm going to add to it here because I seem to be going through this other phase of adulting right now. So for me, adulting is not only the accomplishment of these everyday tasks, but also now taking an unusual pride in completing the mundane. And also I seem to find myself wanting credit for it. Strange. I remember my first realization that I was a grown-up, or at least had to begin acting like one. It was first year at university. I was still living at home, so that didn't change. But it was that first moment on campus when it dawns on you that no one really cares if you go to class or not. This is not high school. There's no late slips or hall passes. You are responsible for you. It was similar to the feeling that I had when I was 10 or 11. You know, around that age when your parents decide that it's okay to leave you alone at home for a few moments while they run some errands. They go out, you're home alone. You feel pretty special then. But even at that, it wasn't that you feel all grown up because you were home alone. It was more like you're still a kid and you've been given some responsibility. So don't screw up. But that first time adulting, it was a similar vibe. I was fortunate that I got to ease into the rest of adulting. Moved out of home into a tiny basement apartment, and then a bigger regular apartment with a roommate, and then eventually moved to another city. Each move brought on a new set of adult responsibilities. Slowly you learned, oh, I see, if I want food, I have to go shopping, I have to buy it and prepare it. Does KD count as cooking? Probably shouldn't eat at McDonald's every day. See, it's I that have to clean. I have to do my laundry. Getting your own place is a big step toward adulthood. Then you get a job, which, often requires your consistent punctual attendance. Then maybe a relationship. Wow, so this is what it's like to be grown up. I'm adulting. And of course, you really should be a practiced adult before you ever have kids of your own. Sadly, many of us aren't, but you quickly become one when you are responsible for the life of a whole other human being. And the thing is, your parents may teach you how to use the stove or the washing machine, but they don't actually teach you how to be a parent. So you fake it. That's why you hear yourself saying stuff to your kids that your mom and dad said to you. Becoming your parents is part of adulting. And as to my point at the beginning of this podcast, I think there's a big difference between adulting and just being an adult. I've gone from adulting to being an adult, and lately right back to adulting. What's going on? And what's with being so proud of myself for these little accomplishments? As I said, you do take some pride in completing the day-to-day on your own. Wow, look at me. I ironed a shirt. I made spaghetti sauce. I took the bus to work. I am a mature citizen contributing to the fabric of society. And that was back in the day when getting older was fun. I think that ends around 30. In other words, getting older gets old real fast. After the initial thrill of adulting, being an adult quickly becomes a routine. Oh, sure, you have the special moments and you make some great memories. But day-to-day adult, you go to work, you pay the mortgage, drive the kids to practice, you mow the lawn. Henry David Thoreau. Most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Yeah, maybe back in his day, but fast forward to my day, we know how to break up the monotony. We'd order pizza once a week. Either way, you're an adult now. You work with adults, have adults as friends, and you do adult things with other adults. It's all pretty normal. I find now, though, that I am back to adulting, and I want more recognition for it. I accomplished the most ordinary task, and when I'm done, I'm so proud of myself. I just wet Swiffered my kitchen floor, and I want the credit for doing this adult thing. I'm out on my balcony like Mussolini, or, the Pope, waving to imaginary throngs of people below who have gathered to cheer my successes. I just washed, dried, and folded my laundry. And now I want to step up to the highest point of the podium, gold medal around my neck, while my anthem is being played and my flag is being hoisted to the rafters. I have dusted my living room, and now I will hoist my championship trophy as I ride on the shoulders of my teammates. Fans screaming wildly, "I'm going to Disneyland!" I'm only half joking. I feel such great self-satisfaction at the conclusion of plain uneventful deeds done. What is that about? I have some theories. I think it's come down to 4 things: COVID, unemployment, getting older, and becoming an orphan. The first 2, COVID and unemployment, kind of go hand in hand. You've heard my story before, but quickly, I was fired from my daily radio talk show by Bell Media for no apparent reason. It was a month before Christmas 2019. I decided to take December and January for myself. It's a notoriously slow time in my business anyway, and then get back at it in February of 2020. Made some calls, set up some meetings for March, and then March 2020. Everyone remembers March 2020 and the announcement.
The WHO, World Health Organization, has declared a global pandemic of this new HSWN virus. HSWN, the holy shit, what now virus. It has been increasing in an alarming rate, and we are saying that we have declared.
Of course, we went on to call it COVID, but on that day, the world changed quickly and forever. For the first few months, we didn't even have a vaccine to look forward to. We barely had a hope for one. We isolated. I sat at home, but I had nothing to go back to when this was over, assuming that one day it might be. Now, I'm pretty good on my own, but the isolation got to most of us in one way or another. During those early days, if I could actually mask up, stand in line at a grocery store, bring home a few basics, wipe them down with Clorox, well, that felt like a massive accomplishment. Whoa, what an adult. So many of those normal everyday things we took for granted pre-COVID were gone. And as they came back slowly one by one, I not only appreciated them more, but I looked at them as something special. Adulting. By the way, even as an adult, I don't know that I could go through the whole COVID thing again. I did play by the rules, isolation, masking, distancing, got all the shots. And I get that COVID is here and will pretty much always be, and I'll get the boosters. But I noticed lately more people masking up again. And I thought, man, if I have to go back to March, April of 2020 and repeat that, not sure if I could do it. I mean, I guess I would. I'm an adult. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, which is the thing that adults say. Quick tangent. I only learned this recently. The COVID wackos who were suspicious of how we were able to come up with a vaccine so quickly, I got an answer for you. The key ingredient of COVID vaccines is something called mRNA, or messenger RNA. There are two main scientists who have been working on it since 2005. As a matter of fact, they just got the 2023 Nobel Prize in Medicine for their work. So when COVID came, we already had the science. What was more amazing, actually, was that we were able to create so many doses and ship them in the time that we did. mRNA, message RNA. You know what the message is? The message is a code, a genetic code that tells your cells to create a spike protein found in the COVID virus and then to destroy it, so that if and when you get the actual COVID, your cells already have the code to kill it. That's a hell of a message. And the whole message is in that little poke in the arm. So the scientists who came up with this genius, they are really good at being adults, huh? The conspiracy anti-vaxxers, not as much. Anyway, back to isolation and unemployment. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, and all the time in the world to do it. I did this. If I had two simple tasks that I had to do, say clean the sink and dust the coffee table, both tasks take like 2 minutes. During COVID isolation, I would only do one so that I had something to put on the schedule to do tomorrow. Yeah, it's called pacing yourself. Hey, what did you do today, Larry? Oh man, it was crazy. I was swamped, and on top of everything else, I ended up dusting my coffee table. That's why you didn't get me when you called earlier. I was having a nap. I'm not quite as bad as that currently, but almost. I feel a tremendous self-actualization from the most common of things. I think a lot of it has to do with living alone. Like I said, I'm fine alone. I like it. One of the benefits of having someone around, though, is that they tend to acknowledge those little things you do. Hey, hon, thanks for emptying the dishwasher. Appreciate it. Hey, babe, good job. You made the bed. Thanks. When you're on your own, however, you have to give yourself props for those things. I scrubbed the bathtub today. I am an astounding individual. Yes, these are the daily habits of highly successful people. The next reason, I have for this adulting habit is getting older. Yeah, I've had a few milestone birthdays. I feel fine, generally speaking. But as you get older, you change your priorities. No, wait, that's not it. What am I trying to say here? You lower your expectations. Whereas 20 years ago, I might lace up and go run 5K just for the hell of it. These days, I'm thrilled that I walked down the block to the drugstore and bought some Advil. Plus, my kids are adults now, and they've been adults for a while. One of my kids will say something like, "Man, Dad, I'm feeling old." You're feeling old? What does that make me? Well, we're all adults. But maybe as we get older, you're bound to start adulting again. Taking joy in the fact that you not only vacuumed the living room, but rearranged your spice cabinet, all in one day. Yeah, sorry, can't talk now, I'm busy. I'm rearranging, middle of a big project, yeah, don't want to lose my place. I'll call you back. Lastly, the last excuse I have for this adulting is becoming an orphan. I'd heard adults use that term before after losing a second parent, and I always thought it was kind of inappropriate until I lost my mom earlier this year. She was 94. I lost my dad over 40 years ago. Then there's Mom. Two things happen when a parent hits 90. One, practically speaking, you start to realize that maybe their time here is limited. But then after 91 and 92 and 93, you think, well, maybe they'll be 110 one day. They just keep going. Mom is still with us. When I gave the eulogy at my mom's funeral, I remember thinking, this is probably the most adult thing I have ever done. I am officially no longer anyone's kid, or at least not anyone who's around, calling me to see if I'm eating right. I really am an adult, an orphaned adult. So those four, COVID, unemployed, by the way, sometimes I refer to myself as semi-retired, but I prefer unemployed. You see, I'd rather people think I'm a bum than an old guy. COVID, unemployed, ticking clock getting older, and no living parents. That's an adult. And my recent adulting is a byproduct of that. You know, just the other day I got up early and I met a friend for coffee. After that I did some shopping. I came home, I worked on a podcast, I had some laundry going, and I made a vegetable macaroni salad from scratch. Ate it while I played an online poker game. All in one day. Surely I deserve a medal and a trophy. And you know what I did the next day? Nothing. I took the day off. You can't expect me to keep up that kind of blistering pace all the time, can you? I should think not. Overall, I'm pretty happy with my adult and adulting skills. I'm glad that my parents taught them to me, or at least laid the groundwork so that I was able to learn them on my own. I refer back to my podcast, number 112, Free Range Kids, where I talk about the current crop of helicopter parents, always hovering, worrying, bubble wrapping, and overprotecting their offspring. I talked about the kids who are 12 and 13 and never used a stove or a sharp knife or know how to do laundry or read a bus schedule. That's why adulting is a Gen Z term. Kids hitting their 20s, they become both thrilled and shocked that they can and must do things on their own. Becoming adults. Sometimes we call them young adults. There's whole industries built up around them. That's why there's IKEAs and Wayfair and Hyundai and others. The affordable crap so that kids can buy the things associated with being an adult. Look at me, I have a car and furniture. Well, you have a Hyundai and IKEA. And think about this. Over the decades as we became adults, did you notice there was always that one or two from your group who never quite grew up? And I don't mean that in a playful spirit or young at heart kind of way. I mean that they, just for some reason or the other, never developed any adulting skills. They party, they buy themselves toys, and they can't take care of themselves. We call these people men. How many relationships do you think there have been where a guy simply transfers all the stuff his mom used to do for him onto his new life partner? Yeah, that's not a good marriage recipe. You know, that's who those signs in the workplace are for. You know the ones, your mother doesn't work here, clean up after yourself? That sign is almost always directed at non-adulting, seemingly grown-up males. Like life is not difficult enough parenting your own children, sometimes you have to parent your adult friends. Being an adult, all in all, is pretty good. Adult, the word itself, means maturity, stability, responsibility, reliability. It's mostly positive, with a few exceptions. Like, for example, being an adult role model is good. However, an adult film star, not as good. Meryl Streep, she's a film star and an adult. She's just not an adult film star. It's a shame that we've come to use the word adult as a euphemism for pornography. I am an adult. The fact that I am adulting again was a little weird until I figured it out. I mean, there's people out there who save lives, and they don't get the credit that I think I deserve just for taking out the trash
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.